headlines in the GB newsroom. Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin was on board a plane that crashed in western Russia. That's according to the country's aviation authority. It's released the names of those passengers on the flight. They include the mercenary group leader, as well as its commander, Dmitry Utkin. It's understood the aircraft was en route to St. Petersburg from Moscow. It's being reported the bodies of all 10 people travelling on board have now been recovered from the site. Residents in Moscow have been reacting to the crash.
It's a tragedy that the plane crashed. That means there were casualties. Well, it was to be expected because of some of the things he did or didn't do. I don't know, but we think he did. They should be punished. Not necessarily by the main man in this country, could be someone else. He had a lot of enemies as far as I know.
Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has surrendered to Fulton County Jail over charges related to efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election result. The former New York City mayor agreed to a $150,000 bail. He's one of several of the 19 people charged in the Georgia election interference case to have turned themselves in. Trump, who denies wrongdoing, says he will surrender tomorrow. Prince Andrew has launched a bid to win back £3 million a year in armed security. That's according to The Sun. The Duke of York was stripped of police protection after paying millions to settle a civil sex assault case brought by Virginia Giuffre. But the paper reports the royal is now fighting back with the backing of former Home Secretary Priti Patel. The Sun claims she emailed King Charles's top aide suggesting a review of the Duke's protection. Administrators for Wilko have denied claims by the GMB union that the stricken retailer will close the majority of its stores next week, calling it speculation. The union, which represents more than 3,000 of the company's staff, said earlier it was told a raft of redundancies would follow. Wilko tumbled into administration 2 weeks ago, putting the future of its 400 shops in doubt. And former NatWest chief executive Dame Allison Rose is set to receive a £2.4 million pay package a month after quitting. Dame Allison resigned following the row over the closure of Nigel Farage's bank account, but is still working her 12-month notice period. Investigations into her actions are still ongoing after she admitted discussing personal banking details with a journalist. This is GB News across the UK, on TV, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners here on the People's Channel. I'm Nick Dixon, the People's host, and I'm joined by Lewis Schaefer, who's currently living in the stationery cupboard. That's why he's here so much. And his son, it's Jonathan Cogan. And there he is. That's actually a bit... Look at that.
I think I'm more Miliband-y than Tony Blair.
That was a picture of... I thought it was a picture of you when you sent in your CV for GB News.
I didn't apply.
Can we see it again? Let's just have a look at it. No, we can't.
All right, cool.
That was quite ambitious. Anyway, how are you doing, Lewis? You all right?
You might be the people's... Host. I'm the people's princess.
You are the people's princess, and I've always said that. And I hadn't realised...
And I'm the driver.
Identical to a young Tony Blair. Do you have similar plans to take over most of the world?
To invade, have an illegal war, and actually, I don't actually know what happened. There's a bad war, right? There's a bad war.
We love well-informed
There is no
people.
justified war in this world.
Yeah, you're only on a current affairs show. Don't worry about it. All right, let's have a look at the front pages then. So, the Daily Mail goes with, was this Putin's terrible revenge? The Times has Wagner boss who crossed Putin killed in jet crash. The Guardian, Wagner chief Prigozhin reported dead after jet crash near Moscow. The Eye has Putin critic killed 60 days after mutiny. The Express, no surprise, warlord enemy of Putin dies in crash. And finally, the Daily Star, what rotten luck, which is actually the same story for once. And those were your front pages. So, Lewis, they're all going with the same story, but let's have a look at the Mail first.
The Mail is, was this Putin's terrible revenge? Of course it was Putin. You know. I mean, even if it wasn't, it was Kim speaking through God. Anyway, the guy got killed. Because he tried to overthrow Putin because he didn't bring enough troops. And if there's that old saying, if you go for the king, you got to kill the king.
Yeah, come at the king, you best not miss. Yeah. Omar in The Wire. Yeah, I mean...
Is that where that came from?
Yeah. I mean, it is a weird one, isn't it, Jonathan? I mean, if you think you did this coup, Prigozhin, for Wagner, how did he think it was going to end?
I don't know. I mean, the coup lasted about 2 days, right? Everyone was like, it was like the Coney. Everyone was super excited and behind it. Then it kind of just fizzled out. And now he's a bit dead. But I loved him in Breaking Bad. He was pretty good.
Apparently there was contact on him for a while. His wife. These were sort of rumours. And then he was meant to be exiled in Belarus, but he kept sort of popping up, doing little selfies with people and stuff, like in Russia and stuff. You're like, dude, what are you doing? So he was confident man. They had the confidence of you before this show, Lewis. Yeah. You know, when you just wander around, not preparing. I think
now I'm dead.
Yeah, career-wise. You're doing better than ever.
Yeah, I think...
You're flying.
I
like this guy. Sorry, that's not good.
The problem is that he was in a bubble. He was surrounded by his own people who told him everybody loved him. He's doing amazing. But the truth is that... And so when he marched up to Moscow, he thought everybody was going to love me. And the truth is a lot of people like Putin.
Yeah, and the problem Putin has though now, isn't it, is that his base is going to be quite a lot of them are quite sympathetic with Wagner. So he's got.
Do you think there risks a sort of a mutiny at home?
It's an ongoing problem for him. I heard that they'd cut off internet at Wagner's base in Belarus, and they were making it hard. This is the rumour, they're making it hard for them to communicate and organise, as you would, I suppose.
OK, well, I mean, I guess that is what you do to a detractor when you're, a bit of a, dare I say, tyrant.
You know what? I think...
Would you dare say it? You wouldn't if you were getting in a plane.
Not on television, no.
Well, I can say one thing. It's like those people who race for the plane, and they don't want to be late, and they catch the plane, and they think, oh, my God, this is a miracle. I've caught the plane. And next thing you know, they're dead.
This is because somebody brought too big a hand luggage.
Yeah. And it's in this case, all right, go on.
Well, we were just going to get onto the Express, and of course they're going with the same story, Jonathan, but they also have some other stuff to cover.
Yes, they do. So the front page is, no surprise, warlord, enemy of Putin died in crash, but the story we're going to cover is pretty grim, and it's not going to give a lot of solace to people reading this. So Lucy Letby's NHS bosses spent £325,000 on PR advice about murderer. So the NH Trust, where serial killer Lucy Letby murdered babies, paid over $325,000 for public relations advice on her crimes. So an analysis has showed that the health body began paying a communications company tens of thousands to consult on the child killer case from 2019 and 2020. So it's a lot of money that's been paid out to PR companies about this, and it's more than the parents of the, terribly sad, the murdered babies have been paid. So they've been paid, that's been limited to $13,000. Whereas, so much more has been paid to PR. So the whole thing is just grim and horrible and sickening, and it seems that, it was more of a rush to cover their image than, pay compensation for the horrible crime.
Insult to injury, it's absolutely shocking. I saw a piece from Brendan O'Neill. He was saying, I don't want to hear anyone celebrate the NHS again. And then people were attacking him, saying, oh, it's disgusting, how dare you say that? I'm like, what would it take for people to think it's OK to criticise the NHS? I mean, this is pretty bad, Lewis.
It is bad, but I think the big problem here is the lack of openness in this country. Remember, I'm an American, and there's a lot of great stuff about this country, but there's no openness. This thing's been going on for 5 years. She killed those people 5 years ago, and there was nothing in the news about it while the trial was going on, which was going on like for years. And I think if there was an open trial, people would have seen what these people, what the NHS people at this NHS trust had done, and they would have demanded changes. I'm not saying...
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can judge the whole NHS on this, incident. Obviously, this lady is a complete psycho and terrible person. The cover-up is the thing that we're taking an issue with here. What else has been covered up? How much other money is spent?
You can't judge the NHS on this.
Yeah.
But what I think what the people might benefit from, as an outsider, would benefit from more openness.
Transparency. OK.
Transparency.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. Let's move on to The Guardian then, Lewis.
The Guardian, they have got the Wagner chief dead, but they also have MPs take away £180,000 in corporate giveaways, which they say 100 of them, which is about £1,800 per person, which just shows how amazingly cheaply an MP can be bought, really. I mean, that they've only given away 180,000. It's like... you know, it's like, who's the guy? Joe Biden is collecting millions, tens of millions, and these guys are collecting.
No, Starmer got Coldplay tickets.
Yeah, I love that Starmer got Coldplay tickets. It's so Starmer. If you had to guess what's Starmer's favourite band, everyone would have said Coldplay.
It really is.
The songwriting is amazing. Do you know what I mean? It's like the most bland band.
Yeah.
It was never going to be Frank Zappa or something, was it?
No, he's never going to push any boundaries there. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
Always going to be Coldplay. £698, such a Starmer amount as well.
Paul Scully got Billy Joel tickets, which is Paul Scully, a science and technology minister, got Billy Joel tickets.
That's
a step up.
Much better. The Downeaster Alexa, Uptown Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Only the Start the Fire. I mean, just so many classics. And that's only the later period. I mean, you know, we could talk about it all night. But, we definitely won't. But yeah, I just like, it's people that, I mean, maybe they should pay MPs more. They wouldn't have to be like, going around in the shadows looking for Coldplay tickets.
Also, we're newsmen. Can we get bribes? We'll report certain stories if we get free tickets to stuff.
We're not newsmen.
What are we? This is news entertainment.
We're comedians that allows us to say whatever we want to say.
So far on the show, we've definitely not been newsmen. I've been the closest, and I'm not a newsman.
We've not really been comedians either. It's been sad story after sad story.
Right, we've been right in that middle zone. It's not funny. It's not serious either.
That's great television. Yeah.
All right, well, let's see if we can pick it up with the Metro then, Jonathan. Space stories, we love them.
We do. So this is a nice story. India's historic moon landing, a big step towards interplanetary travel. So India over the moon. So India made history on Wednesday as its Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully landed on the moon's south pole, the dark side of the moon, just days after Russia's own attempt crashed spectacularly. So they really kind of just rubbed that in, I think. So the region where they landed is thought to hold vital reserves of ice and precious elements, making it of particular importance for establishing long-term human habitation and onward interplanetary travel. And what's exciting about this is India are only the fourth country to complete a soft landing. Did a soft landing? Actually, not going to say that. And then rather than crashing. So, yeah, so they've done really well. Well done, India.
And some, no one here, of course, but some would say they're the first country to go to the moon because, you know...
Space is fake.
Went. There's a lot of rumours...
Birds aren't real. Space is fake. Kordovsky. Have a haircut.
Can I tell you something? America is the greatest country in the world, not because it faked one moon landing, but it faked 6 moon landings. 6 of them. You know, with the effort that it takes to fake, there were 6 moon landings. You didn't know this.
Yes, no, I know. And for balance, I have to say they were all real.
I think they were real. I've not looked into it. I think the moon landings were real.
And I'll tell you something interesting. One of my Twitter followers, you can follow me on Lewis Schaefer.
It's not even in the shot. You just tapped it. It wasn't even there.
I know, but they put it in the shot, which I appreciate, is tweeted. He said they put a naan on the moon.
A naan on the moon? Oh, that's very clever.
India, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Lewis, then, more specifically, this Indian thing? I did see Patrick Christie's earlier today say, can we stop giving them loads of money if they get on the moon? They seem like they're more advanced than us. Their birth rate's higher, they're coming up, they're going to be the world leader, and we're just giving them money to go on the moon.
We're giving them money.
Well, we want to get in with them now.
And
remember that? Remember when we gave you money?
Is the greatest country in the world, not just because it created America, but it created India. There's a reason why India is one of the greatest countries in the world.
That's such controversial.
I feel like India was around.
No, I have to explain it. Because Britain basically combined all these nations into one giant nation. If it wasn't for Britain, there'd be lots of these little Uttar Pradesh and Dravidian nations and up there and Gujarat.
The empire was a great force, is what I'm hearing.
It was a great force. Otherwise, it would be like Africa, which has been burdened by too many small little states.
That's very interesting. You almost made up there, Lewis, for all your attacks on our great royal family with your resolutely pro-empire stance. I love that. All right, that is it for part 1. But coming up, Dame Allison Rose gets a massive payout. A Chinese spy uses LinkedIn, and why men will soon be able to have babies. See you in 2 minutes.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nah, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Lewis Schaefer and Jonathan Cogan, a.k.a. Tony Blair. There he is, doing a very mature face. That's what we have to work with here.
My dad took Sherry Blair to court once.
Cool. No time for that, but very...
Fair enough. No, as like a lawyery thing, not...
That is a bad day.
Nice, don't care. So let's do the Sun. And ex-NatWest boss, I can talk, Dame Allison Rose is set to receive a £2.4 million payout for being really bad at her job. Does this give you hope, Lewis?
It does. And this is Britain. This is one of those things about Britain. You get fired. First of all,
so high.
She actually resigned because they don't fire anybody in this country. They resign them because I think once if you resign, they give you more money. They say you didn't cause us any trouble. We didn't have to fire you. You're not taking us to court, so we'll give you even more money. I think that's the ethos. So anyway, this woman, her name is Dame Allison Rose. And she was the one who ratted on Nigel Farage, and she's the one who is not
ratted on him because it was the wrong information.
Wrong information, right? And she basically shouldn't even be talking. Well, some of it was right, which is that he banks with Coots, which is part of the NatWest thing. But the most important thing is NatWest has been debanking people, you know? And who knows who else they're debanking? And I think you should stop complaining about it. You pick a company and don't do business with them. This is how you get back at these people.
Pick a company, don't do business with. You just mean targeted boycotts.
Yes.
I'm not sure what we're allowed to advocate, but that is an interesting opinion. Maybe
so vote with your wallet.
What do you think, Jonathan? Because it reminds me a little bit of 2008 and the famous movie The Big Short. You sort of feel like they all got rewarded for their incompetence.
Yeah, when has a banker ever been held accountable for anything? You sort of fail upwards, or intentionally so, you know. Look, when I lost £2,000 on GameStop stock thinking I was going to beat the hedgies, I decided I don't like the banks anymore, and they're not even banks.
And you didn't get a bonus, you didn't get a promotion, you just had a sad feeling.
I got nothing. I just got some memes, and that was about it.
Yeah.
A waste of money.
It is shocking. Yeah. It is absolutely shocking.
Where did you get the £2,000 from?
It was bar mitzvah money. From Mum. She told me not to tell you. She got it in the divorce. She said,
only really hardcore Headliners fans are following this, but basically Lewis is Jonathan's dad. He doesn't speak to his other children.
I try to. But
yeah, well, they blocked your number. Yeah.
OK. Well, we seem to have come to a sort of fizzled-out ending on that story, so let's do The Independent. And vehicle emissions-based schemes have generated more than £418 million since 2021. Sounds even better than being a failed bank CEO, that, Jonathan.
Well, it's definitely not a scam. OK, so vehicle emission-based schemes have generated more than 418 million since 2021. And this is in fees and penalty charges, just so you know where that money came from. So London's ultra-low emission zones, or also known as ULEZ, which will expand to cover the entire capital on Tuesday, accounted for the majority of this income. So there's a lot of money been made here in fees and catching people out and, people having to spend money to live their lives. But yeah, so some 320 million of this was generated between October 21, when ULEZ was extended, and April 2023. So there's a lot of money coming in. Now, the law is that this has to be invested. According to the Transport Act, this has to be reinvested into transport infrastructure.
And walking.
And walking, yeah. Everyone's getting a pair of Jordans. It's really great. But yeah, it's a big... Look, no matter what your politics are, even if it's for a good cause, the government are going to charge you for stuff, and it's not going to be spent efficiently. Because why? I don't know.
Because of centralisation, Jonathan.
Yes.
And it was shocking as well. London's the majority of it, but it's also in Birmingham, it's in Bradford, it's in Bath. You've got these CAS, clean air zones, and they're just cleaning up. Just 79 million in Birmingham, Bath, nearly 10 million. I mean, Lewis, it's very un-American, this.
You know what's surprising about America? America has a lot of these kind of horrible things. And I know in New York they're doing a similar thing. They always say, oh, it's being done in London, so it must be good. Because Americans love the British. The reason I'm here is because I grew up thinking, oh, my God, the British are amazing.
You got tricked.
I got lied to by that woman. That woman lied to me.
Don't talk about my mum like that.
Sorry about that, sorry. But you're right about it. All these tiny... I was surprised at how many... It's in Portsmouth. Does anybody own a car in Portsmouth?
It's by the sea.
No, you're right. It's mainly ships.
It's in Bradford. I mean... Bradford, I don't know, does anything happen?
OK, question. Let's say it actually did clear up the air properly and everyone had beautiful air, unpolluted. That'd be kind of cool, but it's just not going to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting because there was a deputy mayor, wasn't there, Shirley Rodriguez, and she was accused of trying to alter this Lancet report that said that there was no benefit to children from these ULEZ schemes. And allegedly she was like, can you just change that? Because they're pointless. They don't do anything.
Well, Sadiq Khan, didn't he give money
to cover up?
To cover it up. They didn't give him money, but the company that was doing the research that said it's not a big deal, he called him up and he said, hey, can you do something about, can you finagle it a little bit?
Can you phrase that in a non-libelous way?
I don't know.
Quite follow it enough to know if we were in trouble for it because I didn't understand it. No. I feel like when I do understand it...
It was a joke.
It was a joke.
It was a joke.
It was a joke. I don't know if he did. But he said, can you... It was very similar to what Trump did in Georgia. Okay. Can you get me the numbers?
Interesting. All right, well, let's do the Independent. And a candidate for London Mayor has said the Notting Hill Carnival should be moved. Wouldn't that make it just the Carnival, Lewis?
Yeah, well, I've never been to the Notting Hill.
It's hell.
No,
I've never been either.
I've never been there. But,
You've been?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what it's like.
All right. Okay, so you'll explain it, and then you'll say whether it was good or not. So this Tory mayoral candidate condemned... because she said bad things about the Notting Hill Carnival. She said that it was a dangerous place. It should be moved. Where do you move it? Into a field somewhere or something? How do you move a carnival?
Yeah, where would it move to?
You can move it somewhere nice like Bath, and then it's like the Notting Hill Carnival at Bath. You know what I mean? Well, like football teams that move, like MK Dons, they move, or like American football teams, always like Oakland Raiders, LA, they're always moving around, aren't they?
So no loyalty to Notting Hill.
Right, you just have the Notting Hill Festival. It doesn't have to be in Notting Hill, guys. Don't be a square.
Or you move it to a place where there are definitely no Caribbean people, and then the thing will just die. But the thing was, she said this about 3 years ago.
Oh, OK.
So it wasn't like... It's a non-story. Okay. It's in the Independent, which is not a newspaper.
It's a non-newspaper. It's a non-story in a non-newspaper.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, it says, why do we permit this vandalism every year? Jonathan, isn't the Notting Hill Festival a great excuse to cover up the vandalism that's happening in London anyway every day?
Is that rhetorical or...?
It's pretty rhetorical. I'm saying London's a violent hellhole. What was your experience of...
I had a great time. I had like a pasty, or patty, rather. I had some rum and ginger. And there was some quite sexually aggressive dance moves, which I quite enjoyed. So, yeah.
Were they done by you or to...
Column A, column B. Yeah. Shall I demonstrate?
Did anything bad happen? Can you...
Not to me, but I'm quite oblivious, so, I'm sort of just...
Did you see anything bad happen?
No, it's that right.
No, it was quite a joyous time, but there's like the family day, and then there was kind of like the more kind of rivalry day where people... get a bit of a leathering sometimes. People find
what about the story, though, Jonathan? Do you think it should be moved?
Do I think it should be moved? No, I think it's part of London's cultural history, and it just needs to be properly policed. So there's no
All right.
If there are
spoken. Let's do the Times. And a Chinese spy is using LinkedIn to find UK state secrets. But so far, all he's found are some great team players with consulting and public speaking skills. Nathan, that's my idea of parodying LinkedIn. I've clearly never gone on there.
No. I actually got banned from LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. If anyone was going to say that tonight, I would have sworn it'd be LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But you got banned from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Wow.
They said Giga Chad wasn't a real job, so I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but here I am. So, exposed, the Chinese spy using LinkedIn to hunt UK secrets. So, a single Chinese spy, assumedly he's broken up with his girlfriend, is using LinkedIn profiles to try to lure thousands of British officials to hand over state secrets in exchange for large sums of money and lucrative business deals. So, this guy is an intelligence officer for Beijing's main spy agency. And he basically created a string of fake aliases and essentially like catfished or honey-trapped a bunch of people who work in defence and scientists and academics, trying to get them to do consulting, and he paid them a lot of money. And it was just a really easy way to get information kind of through the back door. So you start up a relationship, you get yourself like a six-pack photo on Tinder, you message them, next thing you know, they're already at yours.
Right, a sort of professional version of catfishing.
Yeah.
He had all these different names, Zhang, Eric Chen, Robin Chow, Lincoln Lamb, less convincing, and he had another one, I Am Spying, was his least convincing one. And a little joke there. You can have that, guys. Have it with your breakfast.
His name was Robin.
That's not so far off.
Yeah.
He actually told people, he said, we would like to get inside information that isn't easily accessible to anyone. So that is basically asking.
Yeah.
For
And
spy.
he was unprofessional and pushy, which made me think, Lewis, did you get work as a spy?
You know what? Well, it's obviously he wasn't a very good spy because he got caught. But it just shows that people, he was trying to get in, recruit people, paying them £6,000, £8,000 to be a spy, whatever. But people will do anything for money, even if it goes against them more.
If anyone from Talk TV wants to pay us.
Can I tell my joke?
Let him tell his joke.
I stepped on your point.
You stepped on my...
Run up to it again.
Like, look at me here at GB News. Okay, it wasn't that funny, but at least...
needed to do the setup again because...
No, let's try again. Let's go again.
No, you do it in a funny way. You're the funny
late.
one.
It's too late. I think we're going to have to be on because no one's watching at home now. But it is shocking that a spy would be pushy. It's the last thing you want to be as a spy, like, hey, give me the information. Anyway, we've got to move on. Let's do the Mail. And biological men will soon be able to carry children via womb transplants. Whether you'd want to bring children into that future hellscape is a separate question, Lewis.
Well, it's a double hellscape. Anyway, it's a biological man is set to carry... They've invented a process where they would actually transfer a womb into another woman or possibly into another man, because it's a big problem. There are like 15,000 people out there of women who can't have children because their wombs or something bad happened to the wombs.
Yeah.
So it is something that you could see. It's morally good just in and of itself, just for women who want to have kids.
Yeah, because there was this story of a sister donated a womb
to her sister.
To her sister, in hopes she could have children. That's an amazing thing to do. And I think that is touching. But then when it comes to men, you sort of wonder, they're saying it's 10 to 20 years away. It's one of those things, like, there must be complications that we don't know about. You feel like it's going against...
Well, I think they mentioned in the article that there's a bunch of biological differences to do with like flexibility and the shape of your cervix and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, but there's a bunch of different things, including the microbiome and the anatomy of the pelvis and blood vessels and stuff like that. So they're saying it's not going to be at all easy. Wasn't there an Arnold Schwarzenegger film about this when he becomes pregnant? Junior, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I need to watch that.
Haven't seen it, but I think Lewis was an extra in it.
I've been extra in everything. But this is one of those stories which I call a camp story.
What's that?
Because it's going to take place 10, 20 years, possibly in the future. So C stands for could happen, it may happen, it possibly could happen.
OK. All right, well, a bit of a non-story, Lewis is saying, so let's go to the break. That is it for part 2. But coming up, buffer zones, rogue dentists, and a shocking story from the Tavistock Clinic. See you in a minute.
That warm feeling inside. From boxed boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, it's Aidan McGibbon here from the Met Office with the GB News forecast. Showers for many of us over the next 24 hours, even across southern areas where it has been relatively warm and fine over the last few days. It's going to turn cooler as low pressure starts to sink south. As that happens, some intense heat over the near continent will spark some thunderstorms through the evening and overnight, those affecting northern France, but some shower activity could just spread into southwestern parts of England and then eventually other parts of the English Channel coast overnight. Some heavier rain also affecting much of central and northern Scotland. In between, a lot of cloud cover and a warm night for many, especially towards the south. But it's in the south where we're going to see some lively activity first thing, some heavier rain predominantly, with the thunderstorms that develop across northern France generally staying around the Channel or across the near continent. Much of that moves out of the way, but still some showery rain for the southeast into the afternoon. Heavy rain moves through northern Scotland, replaced by showers. Showers also affecting Northern Ireland, but actually for northern England, West Wales, southwest England by the afternoon, plenty of fine and bright weather to come. Feeling a bit cooler, and Friday's certainly a cooler day across the UK. Low pressure will bring a northwesterly airflow, a bright start to the southeast, but elsewhere a lot of showers coming through on a brisk northwesterly breeze. In between some sunny spells and a similar setup for Saturday, a mix of sunny spells and showers and cool for many.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not
believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get into it with the Mail. And the Tavistock Clinic has approved a sex change operation for a person who can't read or write. I'm not even going to joke about this. It's so disturbing, Jonathan.
Well, allow me. Actually, no. Anger flares at the controversial Tavistock Clinic over a sex change operation for a young person who cannot read or write and has 14 mental health conditions. Where is Paul Cox? So first questions were raised last night about a controversial NHS clinic after it emerged that a young person with 14 mental health conditions and who cannot read or write has been approved for gender reassignment surgery. So there's been quite a bold and some would say offensive, some would say justified statement from Conservative peer Lord Goldsmith, who branded the medics at Tavistock Clinic utterly barbaric and so they should be locked up for carrying out procedures akin to lobotomy. So he's really gone on hard here. Now, I think this is a real question of safeguarding, because if this person is 22, an individual is transitioning from female to male, the question is, if this person, I mean, I obviously don't know the person, but if they have all these conditions and mental disabilities, there's a whole list of them here, can they, knowingly consent to this? That's the question.
Of course they can't. Autism, low self-esteem, severe anxiety, all these things.
That's just describing this panel.
Yeah, and there's, like you said, 14 of them. And you're not in a state to be able to make these decisions. And I think it's right to speak about it in very harsh language. We talk about it a lot, but I think we are going to look back and say this was monstrous. Some of us are saying it now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lewis?
Well, I think the most important thing, she had mental retardation. It was a female to male change. So this is a young girl who went in there when she's 14 years old. She had a very troubled life. And she was mental, she had mental, I don't know, can you even use that term, mental retardation? Do they use that?
Is it still in?
Well, it's described as that technically, so yeah.
So it's described in this thing. And you mentioned lobotomy, but here's the point, and I don't want anybody to think that I support this, which I do not, but there were people who when they gave out lobotomies back in the day, they actually thought that they were helping people.
It must have been so relaxing.
It wasn't
like
torture.
Electric shock therapy, etc.
Yeah, this was something they thought, what we're going to do? We're going to remove their prefrontal cortex or whatever it's called, and they're going to be happier. And a lot of them were happier.
Well, the whole point is they should have seen at the time it was barbaric. Like, we should be able to see that now, but we can't see it because we're lost in the moment. Although some of us, luckily, at GB News can see it. But I think it's absolutely appalling and disgusting. But anyway, we're going to move on and do the Times. And the introduction of anti-free speech buffer zones around abortion clinics is being delayed. And this is a bad thing, according to the Times, Lewis.
Well, it's being delayed for a relatively short time. There was a public order act, which they're trying to enforce, which would prevent people from protesting around abortion clinics. And I don't know, is it wrong that I see both sides to these stories? No. I mean, I see on one hand, when someone goes to a doctor, which is what an abortion thing is, let's say it isn't like a doctor, but it is like a doctor, that they shouldn't be harassed. On the other hand, people think that something bad's going on inside, and they should have a right to protest what's going on inside.
Yeah.
So I guess the issue here is because they're classifying it as healthcare, it then becomes, it's not just a protest, it's stopping people getting the healthcare. But at the same time, the Just Stop Oil guys can block any road they want and stop people getting to hospital.
Good point.
And it's a good point. And they're not being blocked, really. No one's being blocked. They're just standing there. It's like that woman who was standing there.
Yeah, Isabella Vaughan-Spruce. So these buffer zones, I'm completely against them because you've had people arrested for praying in their head, and people tweet me and say they're not arrested for praying, they're arrested because they're in the zone. No, they're arrested for praying in the zone. So it's the combination, obviously, because the officer says, are you praying? And they've replied with things like, I might be in my head, and then you arrest them. So this is Orwellian, obscene nonsense. You shouldn't be arrested for thinking something.
That is literally thought crime.
It's literally thought crime in the UK. That's what it is. And people are so anti-pro-life in this country that they get a bit mad over it, and they say, no, you can't harass these women. No one wants to harass the women. OK, a tiny minority of people might do something bad and might harass them. That is possible. Yeah. Most of them are just trying to be pleasant and nice and offer them a choice. Because what they say in the pro-life movement is it's not pro-choice. It's not pro-choice, it's no choice. Because a lot of times women are kind of railroaded into it. They don't know their options about adoption, and so on. So they offer them choices, and they're trying to be compassionate, and they're often Christians. But the Times seems to take a very strong pro-buffer zone stance, and their only concern is that it's not being pushed through quick enough. And when Stella Creasy is the one saying it should happen, that's just a good rule of thumb that it's probably a bad idea. That's my take.
But the thing is that people who are going in to have an abortion, that's not a happy moment for them, usually. So you have to feel for everybody. But at the end of the world, it's another death of love story. They don't want people to have children. They want to make it as easy as possible for people to kill their kids.
Right, and we have very low birth rates, and it's very sad. OK, let's do the Times. And Labour's plans for LGBT hate crime laws might aid censorship. This is a good story for all those who claim it can't get any worse under Labour, Jonathan.
I didn't even know they were running, to be honest, this year. So Labour's plans for LGBT hate crime laws might aid censorship. So Labour's plans for tougher hate crime laws risk aiding censorship and threatening liberal values, a think tank has said. So a report by apparently right-wing think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs, said prominent cases proved that transgender activists do not aim to win the debate, but rather to prevent debate from occurring. Well, tell that to Comedy Unleashed, who had their show shut down in Edinburgh. because of Graham Linham, who is a gender-critical comedian. And then, yeah, the shows were cancelled. So the idea here is that they want to make sure that ideas, I guess in this case, gender-critical ideas, can be discussed, and that by shutting them down, it's actually very illiberal and it goes against free speech.
Yeah, and
so it's a classic free speech.
Yeah, exactly. Starmer, when he's not at Coldplay concerts, is saying that every LGBT crime will be treated as an aggravated offence. I'm very concerned about this. What do you think, Lou?
Well, what do they call that? An op-ed page in America. What do they call that? An opinion piece. Yeah. That's what this is. They basically republished the Institute of Economic Affairs opinion piece about hate crime laws, which I tend to agree with. I agree with this, but this is not a news article. This is completely not news.
Sounds like you're saying it's a non-story, Lewis.
This is another non-story.
Non-story.
We should make the drinking game.
I think at the end of the day, I don't even know why this show is on the air, because these newspapers are barely newspapers, and most of the articles are bare. I'm sorry.
We can't take it off the air, but we could take you off the air and solve it that way.
No, these are very important things. We need to discuss them. This is the news.
All right, let's do The Guardian. And a Tory MP has accused Greeks of opportunism over missing British Museum items. Seems a bit harsh to accuse random Greeks there, Jonathan.
Yeah, he's lost his marbles.
Well,
nice.
Oh, there you go. Well, here's...
I said Jonathan, it's Lewis.
Yeah, OK, whatever.
You set me up.
I just sacked you. So
but that was quite funny, though.
Thank you.
But Tory MP... What's happened is that the Greeks want the Elgin Marbles, which are basically the statues above the Parthenon, which were stolen. And the Parthenon is like a major thing. Imagine somebody comes into this country and steals the pineapples entering the...
But we look after it so well, except in this case where we did have some stuff stolen. But in general, we look after the stuff we steal well.
And right now, because this guy has been accused of stealing 2,000, this guy who worked at the British Museum has been accused of stealing 2,000 of these things, 2,000 items, is that the Greeks are saying, you guys can't take care of it. We want it back. Your excuse is not good.
Very quickly, Jonathan, anything on this?
That's all Greek to me.
Nice. Let's quickly do the Times then. And finally, we've come to a story I've been waiting to discuss. Rogue dentists in Belgium, Jonathan.
Yes, the tooth hurts should have been the headline. So Belgium aching to halt...
Quiet tonight, mate.
Yeah, well, because I start backwards. When I read the stories, I start from the end, so I'm funnier towards the end.
Right,
yeah. OK, so Belgium aching to halt... That's a pun. Belgium aching to halt influx of rogue dentists. So Belgium has been hit by an influx of unqualified Romanian dentists who cannot be stopped from practising under European Union single market rules. First of all, the Romanian dentist kind of sounds like a Guy Ritchie villain. I quite like him. Oh, he's a Romanian dentist. He pulls your teeth out. So 44% of the dentists who start working in Belgium have a foreign diploma, raising fears over safety and an explosion of fraudulent claims for dental care. So basically, you can't actually stop these people from being dentists because of the rules and the European Union, and the worry is that they're not proper qualified dentists, which sounds kind of funny, if not horrifying.
It's one of the worst things to be a fraudulent version of is the dentist. Lewis, in about 30 seconds, any take on this?
Why should the state decide who can be a dentist or not? You should go out and you should check your qualifications yourself.
It's centralisation that's the problem. Take a
or do your own dentistry at home.
Centralisation.
Yeah, centralised death of love, and it's a non-story. And that is it for part 3. But coming up in the final section, Elon Musk's controversial new change to X, the women living off their rich boyfriends, and RAF officers exposing themselves. How could you miss that? See you in a minute.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get into it with The Guardian. And Elon Musk has gone a whole day without tinkering with X. Just kidding. He's now removing headlines from evenings. Lewis.
He's great, Elon Musk. I don't know what... I'm trying to picture what this is because I haven't seen the image. What they're saying is if you want to put a link... Let's say you want to put a link to our show.
Yeah.
It'll come up with our picture, like the picture of like Lewis and me talking, whatever it is, and Jonathan. But it won't say exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So you'll have to write in, this is, oh, you should watch this. This is Lewis Schaefer saying something outrageous.
The picture I saw that was a sort of mock-up of how it would be was, it's like from a newspaper. It still has the headline and the image, but it doesn't have that link bit at the bottom where you see which paper it's from. It just has a headline.
Yeah.
Instead of knowing where it's from so you can click it, it'll take that away to discourage people going to other news sites. Because Musk wants X to be the everything
No, but it will go to that site.
The mock-up picture I saw, it just took out the bit
It'll
where
just know it. You can click on the picture and it will go to that site.
I thought this could be an approach to try and combat clickbait. If you can't see the headlines, but you still can see the headlines, you're saying?
It's
you
almost
can't see the headline. No, you
in
can't.
In the mock-up version, you could see, you could basically still see, but you couldn't see the link and the name of the publication.
Look, anyone worth their salt knows they get the headline here.
You can see the headline, but not the link. But you can still get to the link.
I don't
by
know.
Because
it's a prototype. Right?
I think
it's all part of Musk's thing to take over everything. Now, to be very fair to Twitter, it has been a key source for media.
Yeah.
When the mainstream media has become increasingly fraudulent, we go to Twitter and we see, oh, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
But then again, could it become, just for argument's sake, a bit tyrannical if X does become the everything app? He's blocking links. You know, he blocks Substack and annoying.
No, he's not blocking the links. I think it says it's not blocking. You could write in to Lewis Schaefer on Twitter, at Lewis Schaefer.
He claims it's all about aesthetics, by the way. He claims it's purely for the look. Do you believe that?
No.
Yeah, he's a Tesla guy. Look how nice everything looks. He's you know, he does it for the...
It's not for the looks. It is for what you said. It is to slow people linking to the this thing. And it's also to take away the junk from the feed so they can have more stories on the feed. But also, it was Elon Musk that said the BBC is state-controlled media.
And absolutely, and take another drink there for Lewis saying the BBC is basically centralised.
It's propaganda.
Let's do The Guardian. And RAF officers must stop exposing themselves to women. I've always said that.
Yeah, I think some of these RAF pilots were flying low.
Nice.
That's it. No, okay. So
you don't bring much, but
I've got the odd line.
Quality.
That was an hour ago and I was fresh. Right. So, did you feel my muscles?
I did feel a little bit.
What's the story, though?
Oh, yeah. RAF officers must stop exposing themselves to women.
Are you eating my diet? Are you on the all-meat diet?
Yeah, I caught your eating disorder. It's been a whole thing.
RAF officers must.
Oh, yeah. Stop exposing themselves to women, says military judge. So a military judge has said that RAF officers must stop exposing their genitalia to female colleagues, describing such behaviour as arrogant, juvenile, immature, and not funny. Look, it is arrogant, it is juvenile, it is immature, it's not okay, but it is funny. I'm sorry, but
it is not sexually abusive.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I have to, for balance, give that point, but you've made it for me. But actually, I'm going to make the case. You know why? The guy got his testicles out and put them on the bar.
If I did that right now, that would be our best clip.
That would be a great
Actually,
clip.
you know what?
Yeah, you'd be arrested, but we'd go viral.
Okay.
And he said he couldn't have done this. He's not flexible enough, and the uniform was too tight to manoeuvre. But here's the case I'm going to make. When I first heard this, I was like, this is terrible, they expose themselves. I read a bit deeper. I go, oh, it's lads' bants in the army. If you read, like, Ant Middleton's books, in the paratroopers and stuff, they used to just do outrageous stuff. He would urinate on himself for, like, a lot. There's one where he has to, like, get naked and dive across a dance floor with glass strewn on it. And that's kind of like initiation. What's happened here is you've got men's army banter, which is very off-colour. Yeah. And then you've got women in the RAF, and so they're coming together. Only men should be seeing this, but not necessarily assault, though, Lewis.
No, it's boys. Boys, you can't even say it nowadays. You know what? You can't say it. People know what I am going to be thinking, which is boys. Let the boys do it.
PC gone mad, Lewis. This is the Telegraph with a story about women living off their rich boyfriends. This could easily get offensive if not handled delicately, so we've given it to Lewis Schaefer.
I know. You know what? I've got a woman at home myself. Anyway, feminist gold diggers are both. Are they feminist gold? They're saying women are giving up work to live off their boyfriends. I mean, this is some new 21st century stuff that women are actually thinking that they want to stay home and take men's money. The truth is that women hate work. They hate work.
Value on this.
No, they hate work. They totally hate work. But you want to know something? You know who else hates work? Men. Men hate work. Balance. Everybody hates work. The only difference is no one's going to pay me to stay at home. I tried that with your mother, and she
Margaret Thatcher
got violent.
Work.
You know what? She was a freak.
True.
She's
in a good way.
In a good way.
Jonathan, what do you think about these gold diggers, these women, or just very smart?
I think this is kind of the female equivalent of the old red pill, right? It's like, this is how you can manipulate a guy. It's not going to lead to anything good. Yeah, in the short term, you might get some cash, but you want to be in a loving relationship where you're a teammate, right?
No, it will lead to something good. And women, there's nothing that makes a woman happier than being at home getting money off of a man. Can I just say one thing?
You see Cressler shaking her fist.
One of the people in the article said it's usually problematic to compare these women with Andrew Tate. Manipulation of men for their money is not the same as what Andrew Tate did.
No, but it says what Andrew Tate's been accused of and unproven, whereas these women are provably manipulating men, so it's worse. Let's do the last story in the Mail, and apparently dogs listen to women more than men. Is that where they're going wrong, Jonathan?
No, OK, so forget man's best friend. Dog listens to women more than men, a study finds. So they're often described as man's best friend, but a new study suggests that we should perhaps start calling dog woman's best friend. We shouldn't, we shan't, and we won't. Yeah. So a team from Lorraine University used fMRI scanners to analyse dogs' brain while people were speaking around them, and they found that they actually have more brain reactivity to female, presumably because of the high voices sound like a dog whistle.
In 15 seconds, any comment on this?
It's a misuse of the word man. Man's best friend. Man means human. And you know what? Do you know what? When you talk in an excited way, people listen. That's what this research says.
It's your entire trick. Thanks, guys. That was good. Fun show. Hope people enjoyed it. Show's pretty much over, but let's have another quick look at Thursday's front pages. So, everyone's going with the main story, of course. The Daily Mail has, was this Putin's terrible revenge? The Times, Wagner boss who crossed Putin killed in jet crash. The Guardian, Wagner chief Prigozhin reported dead after jet crash near Moscow. The Eye, Putin critic killed 60 days after mutiny. The Express, no surprise, warlord enemy of Putin dies in crash. And finally, the Daily Star, what rotten luck. And those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thanks to Lewis and Jonathan. We're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with some other people. And if you're watching at 5 a.m., then stay tuned for breakfast. And you can always catch up on YouTube. But for me, it's good night, good morning, and God bless.
That's what GB stands for.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, it's Aidan McGibbon here from the Met Office with the GB News forecast. Showers for many of us over the next 24 hours, even across southern areas where it has been relatively warm and fine over the last few days. It's going to turn cooler as low pressure starts to sink south. As that happens, some intense heat over the near continent will spark some thunderstorms through the evening and overnight, those affecting northern France, but some showery activity could just spread into southwestern parts of England and then eventually other parts of the English Channel coast overnight. Some heavier rain also affecting much of central and northern Scotland. In between, a lot of cloud cover and a warm night for many, especially towards the south. But it's in the south where we're going to see some lively activity first thing, some heavier rain predominantly, with the thunderstorms that develop across northern France generally staying around the Channel or across the near continent. Much of that moves out of the way, but still some showery rain for the southeast into the afternoon. Heavy rain moves through northern Scotland, replaced by showers. Showers also affecting Northern Ireland, but actually for northern England, West Wales, southwest England by the afternoon, plenty of fine and bright weather to come. Feeling a bit cooler, and Friday's certainly a cooler day across the UK. Low pressure will bring a northwesterly airflow, a bright start to the southeast, but elsewhere a lot of showers coming through on a brisk northwesterly breeze. In between, some sunny spells and a similar setup for Saturday. A mix of sunny spells and showers, and cool for many.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we